Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming to you with a look at the NBA playoff games for Tuesday night, April 23rd. 4 games on the docket here in the NBA postseason. Break them down for you here on this video. Over at BangTheBook.com, you'll find written breakdowns of these 4 matchups. And, of course, you can be on the lookout for the series previews for the second round, the Eastern Conference semifinals and the Western Conference semifinals from our fine cast of writers over there. Parker Michael's still doing his daily NHL picks as well. But you can find my MLB picks over at BangTheBook.com. And right here on our Bang the Book YouTube page, you can check out my MLB betting podcast, The Bettors Box, every Monday and Thursday. We're doing an NFL draft show tomorrow on Tuesday. Then next Tuesday, we'll have a preview of the Kentucky Derby. So lots of great stuff coming your way on Bang the Book Radio. All right, let's take a look here at these 4 games for Tuesday night. We start with game 501, 502. The San Antonio Spurs take on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets a 5.5-point favorite here. And you have to wonder if maybe at this point in time, Denver has made the proper adjustment to Derek White. Derek White became a very good third option for the Spurs offense here over the first 3 games, I should say, of this series. He had 16 in game 1, 17 in game 2, 36 in game 3, but he was held to 8 points in game 4, which Denver did win by a couple touchdowns on the road. And maybe that's the difference here in this series now. You know that DeMar DeRozan will get his. You know that LaMarcus Aldridge will get his. The Spurs didn't have that consistent third option over the course of the regular season. Well, they found it here in the first 3 games with Derek White, got up to a 2-1 series lead, but now maybe Denver has made that correct adjustment to take that quote-unquote secret weapon away from Greg Popovich. And look, White's usage in this series, 25.8%. It was only 17.7% for the season. So maybe the Nuggets weren't really that worried about him coming into the series. He drops 36 on them in game 3. They make the adjustment in game 4. He only has 8 points. I think that's the difference here, not just in game 5, but in the rest of the series, in that I think Denver has made that adjustment, that alteration, and without a third scoring option, I think it's going to be tough for the Spurs to go toe-to-toe with such a balanced Denver attack. So give me Denver tonight, or give me Denver tomorrow night, I should say, minus the 5.5 on April 23rd. And also I like Denver to finish off this series. Could potentially do it in 6. Maybe they need the game 7 at home. But I do think that now they've made that correct adjustment. They have accounted for White. And without a third option in the NBA, it's very, very challenging. Which brings me to game 503, 504 here between the Thunder and the Blazers. Blazers 3.5-point favorites. And that was the difference in game 4. That's what put the Oklahoma City Thunder on the brink, is that not only did Portland find a third option, they found a fourth option as well. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are going to get theirs. They've outplayed Russell Westbrook and Paul George here in this series. The big difference in game 4, which winds up being the swing game in this series, is that they got Aminu and they got Harkless more involved in the offense. 34 combined points for those 2 guys. When you look on the Thunder side, the non-Russ and PG starters plus Dennis Schroeder only had 37 points. So Portland found their third option, found even a fourth option, takes some of the pressure off of McCollum and Lillard, who maybe played their best all-around games in this series in game 4 by being able to use their teammates and limit their usage a little bit. So they're plenty fresh going into game 5. And look, both guys, not surprisingly, this is the case for most NBA players, but both guys were much, much better at home this season. Lillard with a 61.9% true shooting percentage at home, 56.1% on the road. McCollum's splits weren't as big, 56.4% at home, 54.3% on the road, but Lillard's better at home. They started incorporating everybody, and that's the big difference here in this series, is that Lillard and McCollum have outshined Westbrook and George. Obviously, those 2 guys have it in them to go and steal game 5, but Portland using the guys around their top 2 players better in this series. That's been the difference. I think Portland does finish this one off here as a 3.5-point favorite in game 5. Move to the Eastern Conference now, game 505, 506. The Orlando Magic and the Toronto Raptors. Raptors an 11.5-point favorite here in this one. And look, you got to give the Magic full marks. They're playing extremely hard. They just can't match up talent-wise here in this series. They're getting badly outplayed on the offensive end of the floor. Yeah, Kyle Lowry's having a bad series again, but Pascal Siakam has been fantastic in this series for the Raptors. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard knows what it takes to win in the playoffs. And Aaron Gordon's not getting any help for Orlando. And really the question about this game isn't who wins. It will be Toronto that wins this game. The question is, how big do they win this game? Can they cover that 11.5-point spread? Double-digit playoff favorites since the 15-16 playoffs are 27-20 against the spread. Milwaukee pending tonight before you may see this video. But the thing of it is, Nikola Vucevic is not doing anything in this series for the Magic. Gordon's been doing it offensively on his own. That's not going to work against Toronto. So the question here is, how much is left in the gas tank for the Orlando Magic? Because they've essentially been playing playoff basketball for the last 2.5 months, just trying to get into the postseason. We maybe saw a little bit of that in the second half of that last game there at home. Kind of felt like a send-off for the season in that they just don't have enough to stack up here in this one. So the question in this game is, do you take the Raptors for the full game? Do you take the Magic in the first half expecting kind of a last gasp type of effort here? I'm not exactly sure what the best course of action is, but I will be very interested in Toronto in the second half if this is a close game going into the intermission. So I'd look to maybe play the Raptors second half. The Magic probably won't have too much left in the tank. And if Toronto were to go on a run in the third quarter, this thing could probably get pretty ugly as they put it away. This isn't like college basketball where you empty the bench and bring on the equipment manager and the guy that washes the jerseys and all that. The Raptors, they still have professional guys on the bench that are going to go out there and try to make an impact while they can. So this is one that could become a runaway late. So you probably want to look Magic first half, maybe Raptors second half, or who knows, maybe Orlando just won't have anything left in the tank for that trip back up north. Finally, one more game to talk about here on Tuesday night. The Nets and the Sixers. Sixers 8-point favorite here as they look to close out this series. And you know that they do not want to go back to Brooklyn. They do not want to play a game 6. They do not want to potentially put Joel Embiid at risk. So this is one where the Sixers will be fully focused, fully motivated to wrap up this series. And look, they probably should. In game 1, Brooklyn was 11 of 26 from 3. That allowed them to get that upset. Since then, in the 3 games, they're 35 for 113 from 3, less than 31%. You're not going to win games that way when you're the inferior team. So that's been the case here in this series. The Sixers, when Embiid's been out there, have done whatever they've wanted offensively. Brooklyn's just not shooting the ball well enough to stay alive in this series. Once again, I think this is another one of those games where you could look first half with Brooklyn, second half with Philadelphia, because these teams that are on the brink of elimination, especially the ones that have been scratching and clawing to get to this point, there's just not a whole lot of gas left in that tank, not a whole lot of energy left to spare. If you get a good first half effort, the better team's probably going to turn it on in the second half. So this one probably sets up similarly to the Magic and Raptors game. Maybe you look at the dog first half, look at the favorite second half, look for them to put it away with a team that's just kind of, a wounded animal walking around there on the floor. So good night of basketball coming your way here on April 23rd. We'll be back throughout the week with some different video content for you, looking at all kinds of different stuff. Brian Blessing will have a preview for the Zurich Classic this week down in Louisiana, the golf event. We'll have NASCAR videos as well. Lots of good stuff coming your way here on our Bang the Book YouTube page and, of course, over at BangTheBook.com. I'm Adam Burke for BangTheBook.com.